full. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. Game over, series over, and the Red Sox are world champs again. And so are these fans. It hasn't happened at Fenway Park for 95 years. The Red Sox are world champions.
Boston organization has been well run for a long time now. From the top on down, here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series. 5-1 the final tonight. And the best team in baseball wins it all in 2018.
The Red Sox have won the World Championship. The Boston Red Sox beat the Los Angeles Dodgers 5-1. They win the World Series 4-1. And the Red Sox become the first team in the 21st century with 4 World Championships. Can you believe it?
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I am the Ritt, and with me is my co-host, DC, and our head writer, Mr. George Sutherland. DC, what's been going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Just enjoyed the nice weekend. You know, I'm dreading work tomorrow. Living a dream.
Well, man, I could sit there and say 1,000 things, my man. But you are not living the dream. You're living the nightmare. I am now living the dream. But, George, what's been going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Like I said this morning in my column, we finally got a very nice few days that's got strung together, and it's really, really, really nice up here right now. So,
hey, George, I'm kind of curious. How did the Portland game go that you went to with your lovely wife?
It was very good. I mean, they threw a shutout. Hickey put one in the seats in right field. It was a very, very good game. It was kind of an interesting game in that York didn't start at second. Mydroth did. York has been getting a little power outage of late, but they kind of gave him a little bit of a rest, and the lineup looked good. Meyer looked solid at shortstop. Looked a little tough on a couple of breaking ball pitches, but I think he's getting it back. He's hitting above 200 again. He's starting to pick it up. I think this is the adjustment period since coming up. He went 0 for 20, I think it is, when he first got up here. So he's starting to put it together and be the man that everybody thought he could be. So it was very, very good. And Coffey struck out 10 in 5 innings through 90-something pitches, but I kept to the K tracker. There's a couple of people who do it up near the broadcast booth, and struck out 10. He was he had the strike pitch when he needed it, so it was a good game.
Yeah, and then they had Trevor Story there, which hopefully Marcelo Meyer got a little help coming out of a slump, maybe. Because we've talked plenty of times before how it's okay to get in a slump, but you got to learn your adjustments, make the adjustments, and come back out strong on the other end. So hopefully we can see if Marcelo Meyer is able to pick that up, because Trevor Story on his debut back, it was story time, baby, and he went deep in the first game back. DC, did you get to see that one?
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter, man. Really excited about that. He had a rough game the next game, but he hadn't played baseball since last year, coming off an injury, so rust is going to be there. But yeah, excited to see him hit a bomb his first game back, and I'm stoked to get him back in the lineup.
Yeah, this was a great week for the Pesky Podcast once again. A big shout out to Joe Bradley. DC, you couldn't make it because you had family stuff going on. But I was up at Scranton Wilkes-Barre watching our Woo Sox take on the Scranton Rail Riders. It was a great series overall. I seen Shane Drohan pitch. Sedane Raffaello, he went deep twice. Bobby Dahlbeck had a couple stolen bases in the series. Got to hook back up with Narcisco Crook. Gave him his Pesky Podcast shirt. He loved it. Theo would sit there and loved his shirt. Just a great time overall. And I was also able to talk and pick the brain of their broadcaster, Tyler Murray, for the Woo Sox, the play-by-play broadcaster. And man, he was just giving some pointers, talking to Steven Scott, who I think it was Friday, one of those two games. He hit a 3-1 shot in the 8th to put us ahead. Then he took another 3-run shot in the 9th to put the game away. So that was a great thing to sit and watch. But man, I can't wait to sit there and see some of these guys get moved up again. George, what were some of your thoughts on overall the AAA team that's coming together?
That's where your depth comes from for the big squad, and I think they put together the ability of people coming and going, and keep the big club stocked when we have injuries. I love the fact that Rafael is at AAA now. He's still sometimes a little aggressive at the plate. If you can kind of tamp that down a little bit, but still maintain the right level, that's going to be good. I think that's great. I think that they got pieces if they need to. That's great. I think Crook, he's got him playing a little first now, I guess. And to see him chug around the bases on the inside the park thing was absolutely fabulous. So I'm happy for him. But yeah, I mean, it's what you want your AAA team to be. You got some guys that can help you in case you get an emergency. Lord knows they've had the shuttle going between Worcester and Boston for the pitching staff. So it's what you want your AAA staff to be. So.
Yeah, they went and they had people a little bit out of position. I seen Bobby Dahlbeck play right field. Raffaello was in playing shortstop. So it was a little different. Abreu was out there playing center. He was playing left field yesterday. So it was great to sit there and see. Even Fitzy came back. And walk. He had a double, so it's kind of like he didn't miss a beat when he was off on the 7-day injury list. So
makes you wonder if they're showcasing. Obviously, they're probably showcasing Bobby, but Abreu as well. Hey, he can do this, he can do that. In case you were wondering, I think that's probably the message that. Heim is sending to the rest of the GMs around baseball, saying, "Hey, yeah, these guys can do this. In case you were wondering, and we're going to show you." So, I mean, that's good, and nice to see Fitzy back because fans love him, and he's been a good addition to the organization.
Yeah. So let's move right on over to the Mets series. The Red Sox have been playing. Game 1 was a complete wash, you might as well say. The videos.
Oh my God!
The videos that were showing up it was like the scene of Titanic.
Oh yeah, I've been in Fenway when it's rained before, but not any kind of deluge like that, but just the waterfall effect. And the rapids effect coming down the stairs, my goodness. Then that guy that decided he was going to do a little surf slide across the floor. I wonder how he felt when he got up. But, that was nuts. I mean, but that's that. To be honest with you, that's the kind of rain we've been getting in New England. For the last 3-4 weeks. When it rains, it just pours. So.
Yeah, it was horrible. I do not know what took them so long till they called that game, because it was horrendous. DC, what did you think about Noah's Ark in Game 1 of the Mets series when God was like, we do not want Yoshida and Senga to face each other, so he opened up the portals of water to flood out Fenway Park. Can you hear us, DC?
Yeah, what'd you say? Sorry, I was loading in. I just said it.
Oh, sorry. Well, what did you sit there and think about the old Game 1 flood game, the floodgates?
Yeah, man, those videos were nuts. I saw the one going into the tunnel, down into the clubhouse, and the one guy was walking through it. It was shin deep.
Yeah.
And then it was actually on our local news. My dad sent me a text last night and said, "Hey, I saw Fenway Park was underwater," which is funny that it's on the news, down here in PA. But yeah, I mean, that's going to come with the territory with such an old stadium. But I love Fenway Park, so hopefully it sticks around for a while. But they just fixed that plumbing a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I think the player that you were talking about was old JT.
Yeah.
It was.
Had the bags up over his cleats and up on his legs, just trucking through, and he tweeted out he was ready to keep going. So, but man, just to see people belly flopping, sliding like a giant slip and slide, it was just. I'm glad I didn't go to that game, because I probably would have been a little upset that they took so long to call the game. So.
I was kind of surprised by that, because Dave Mellor, who runs the grounds crew there, is pretty good about giving the umpire accurate information. So I don't know what those guys were thinking.
Yeah, but we went and did the old doubleheader on Saturday. So, of course, we lost Game 1 of the doubleheader, 4-5. Cutter Crawford took the big L. So, George, what were your thoughts about the overall game?
It was, before the rain finally washed it out Friday night. I mean, it was kind of a back and forth affair, and you kind of get that whole idea that if they'd played on, it was going to be like that. But then, you pick up the game, later, Saturday afternoon, and things calmed down, and the bullpen, Crawford's gone, obviously, because they're not going to have him come back on Saturday. Bullpen only allowed one run. They just couldn't get back in the game. The bullpens continue to do its job when asked. But again, the bats just when they go silent, they go silent in a big way. And just when they needed him, to come back a little bit more, it wasn't a good scene. So,
DC, what were your thoughts on Game 1 if you're there?
Yeah, I'm here. Obviously I wasn't too happy with the outcome, and yeah, like you said, it was kind of weird that they took so long to call it until the next day. I'm not a big fan of the big suspended games. They kind of scare me. Kind of kills momentum, even though they didn't have much going for them at all. Other than the first 2 innings. But overall, it was good to see Duran. He added a stolen base, 2 hits. Justin Turner, even without a hit, he produced an RBI in that. Chang, I think he had 2 hits and an RBI. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he contributed a little bit. Cutter Crawford, obviously, could have seen a little bit more out of him. 4 innings just isn't going to cut it, but it was pretty happy to see how the bullpen played out. I think 3 out of 4 guys that came in, through scoreless appearances. So that was good, But obviously overall it sucks to get a loss, but glad that, as we're going to touch on here probably right after this, we got the win yesterday.
Game 2, things went a little bit differently. Man, I loved going through everything and tweeting out some great stuff. like 5 home runs for us. Jaron Duran lead off home run. Justin Turner throw some dirt on it. He had a home run. Our boy, Casas, turning it around. He sat there and had 2 bombs. The stat that was thrown out there was surprising because, George, when we talked to Not Gaetti, about Scherzer's had a long career, and Casas is the first.
That was amazing.
Rookie to take him deep twice.
In a way, it's kind of fitting in that, as Not Gaetti was talking about, Scherzer's been up and down. He hasn't looked like the Scherzer of old. He's doing okay, but and then Casas has been having the same thing. He's trending up of late. So for him to go deep twice, in many respects, it was kind of fitting. That he got him twice, and for him, he's a good kid. He's a young kid. He'll remember that forever, right? So that was pretty cool.
But DC, you might like the next one. It seems to me every time Yu Chang makes contact with the ball, it's over and a home run. And of course, I tweeted out, Yu Chang clan ain't nothing to with. So DC, what's your thoughts, my man, on Yu Chang? Anytime he hits something, he destroys it.
Yeah, man, it's cool to see. Love to see a little bit more consistency out of him, but when he does hit it, man, he hits it far. And we all know the chicks love the long ball. I really screwed that one up. Sorry, I started a little bit. We got a little too excited about that. But yeah, man, it's good to see him making good, contact. Especially when the offense was stagnant the night before. It's good to come out and continue his momentum and get some runs on the board with one swing.
Yeah, Paxton looked. DC, you weren't here, but man, I know your thoughts, and you and I were talking about Paxton's last outing, and everybody on Twitter was hating him. Like, dude, he deserves one bad start every now and then, and he came back.
Yeah.
7 Ks, 2 earned runs over 6. So what are
and
your
only
thoughts?
One walk.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, what are your thoughts, DC, on even when we win, the Twitterverse still hates the Red Sox?
I'll be honest with you. Do you know how many times I'll write a tweet, just kind of bitching about Red Sox Twitter, and I'll type it all out. But you know what I do? I never hit enter or submit. I think it's like therapy for me. Just write it down and throw it away. But man, that's one of the biggest things about this fan base that drives me nuts. Granted, I know I became a fan only in like 2000. I think it was 2000 when Manny signed. But a lot of these fans weren't there before that. They didn't go through 2003 like you and I have discussed. 2004 was a roller coaster of a season, and then the ALCS
86, 75.
86. I mean, they would have lost their collective minds, And then I think Justin, that's his account on Twitter, big Red Sox guy. He tweeted something out a couple weeks ago because he was combating somebody that was bitching about the Red Sox. I think it was even after they won. And I just said, could you imagine some of these fans having to deal with the Carl Crawford saga? You imagine that? Or and you even rebutted. Imagine you said Pablo Sandoval. It would be a dumpster fire even more than it is. It's just,
Carl Everett.
We got a little spoiled, 4 championships in, less than 20 years. But we got to, give it a break a little bit. It gets frustrating. And sometimes I just like to hop off that app for a little bit. It's just, I don't get the negativity. You can't win every year. I understand you're a big market team, but their philosophy has changed. You got Chaim Bloom. He doesn't think the same way as Dombrowski or Charrington or Epstein. You just need patience, and we're in the right direction. I truly think we're a year or two away of, actually putting something together. Do I think we're going to win a championship? I can't say that 100%, but we're in the right direction. We have a pretty good product out there with what we had coming into the season, and we have a lot of talent in the minor leagues. So it's just some patience is needed, and just enjoy the game. That's what it's there for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, George. How do you think some of these younger people would have lasted in 75 or 86, especially if Twitter was around then?
Oh God, they'd be on suicide watch. I mean, seriously. I mean, in '75, Fisk with that classic home run, and then that was Game 6, and then Game 7's over, and then the whole Mookie Wilson play and against the Mets. I mean, you think they're complaining about that about stuff like that now? I mean, if you were around for that, and I was, I mean, I came this close to breaking my television in that Mets game. Okay, and my mouth ran off some longshoreman words for about 20 minutes afterwards. I was just, oh my God, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. So, but yeah, I mean, you get spoiled, and that's a fact. And they still got four World Series titles. In the 21st century, nobody else has touched that yet. So, yep. They're the team technically to beat, in terms of championships right now. But good heavens, I mean, just in many respects, I'm glad Twitter didn't exist. It was coffee talk the next day. Water cooler talk.
Yeah,
and so yeah, I'm really glad. But yeah, you're right. They go out of their minds for no, and I think a lot of it is this whole the whole instantaneous. Everybody wants instantaneous gratification, and baseball is not that kind of game. And we talk about stats and things like that. And DC, your point is very good about Chaim Bloom. Chaim Bloom is a different cat. Okay, he's an analytical mind. Okay, and he seeks consensus among his people. And he's not that in charge kind of guy like a Dombrowski. He says, yeah, that's what we're going to do. He seeks the opinions of everybody. And there's one talking an article I read that they still haven't had the final direction yet because he's still seeking from his guys. What are we going to do here? What do you see? So it's that whole dynamic of consultation, and in an analytic mind, that's what you do. So this is what you should expect, and Chaim Bloom is delivering 10,000%.
Yeah, I know one thing from yesterday's game that I sit there and feel real bad for is how come we can't give Connor Wong a day off? Like, that man deserves a day off.
Yeah, Jorge Alfaro, that's the answer.
He has 7 hits since he's come up.
It's crazy. Like, man, that man deserves a day off. But you see Connor Wong sitting on the bench. He's like, dude, I can't. I feel bad. I need to play because stuff like that happens. Yeah. Like, you sit there and think, all you got to do. Now, I'm not going to blame Alfaro 100%, just 80%, because Jaron Duran should have never sit there and tried to throw that ball, over the cutoff man's head.
Right.
But how in the hell, on the 1-year anniversary of the inside the park home run, you let that happen again? DC, like, how?
That's big.
DC, you cut in and out there, so I'm going to sit there and give you the benefit of the doubt that you were probably cursing up a storm.
No, sorry. I just I said, it's baseball is weird. Life is weird. And that's the kind of luck I would have if I was Jaron Duran. The same day that happened. That's just that's funky. But, yeah, you got to make better decisions out there. Glad he's performing at the plate, or else he'd be getting roasted even more on Twitter.
And it's almost like next year they should just, on this date next year at Fenway Park, Just give Jarren Duran his own bobblehead night to commemorate, not once, but twice.
Maybe just sit him too while you're at it on that day.
Yeah.
Didn't Tapia get DFA'd yesterday as well? I mean, talk about the planets aligning.
I'm not sure. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about.
Does he ever get picked up after the Red Sox got rid of him, or did he go down to the minors?
He wasn't in the minors at all.
I think he was outright.
But I think he got DFA'd as well.
But man, a year anniversary, and you're gonna let it happen again? Like, is this what we got to look forward to? Like, if next year I'm gonna place $100 bet on an inside the park home run, on this date. Doesn't matter who we're playing.
I mean, and all jokes aside, man, I hope it doesn't mess with him mentally. And I'm not making any light of any situation, but he talked about his mental health and what that did to him, and how the rest of the season just kind of brought him down. I hope his hitting keeps his head level, and he knows that he's a good player. Because that can mess you up, man. Especially the same day, a year later.
Exactly. Like
Right.
AC told him at the beginning of the year, just have fun. But you can't be playing catch with Alfaro in the middle of a game. You know what I mean? Where you throw it to him and then Alfaro throws it right back to you. Like you can't be having that much fun.
Yeah, you say that for the warm-ups.
Exactly. But man, okay, enough about the Mets series. Because, well, let's talk about the good and the bad Casas. So, me Casas, Sue Casas, George, to start us off.
Well, he's found his home run stroke, and he's been just tearing up pitching lately. But he's found the long ball again, and he's delivering that. That's the good Casas, and it's really nice to see because that means his aggressiveness is back, and he's not laying off pitches and taking a call through his strikes. The bad Casas is what he did in the same game where he got a single and then gets picked off at first, okay? Or, he makes another bonehead play at first base, where he doesn't, if he wasn't going to cover the bunt, he should have gotten over the bag because, he should know where he's supposed to be. He goes through these periods where he'll be okay, and everybody makes errors and stuff like that. But then, he just like loses his mind, like for a split second. So, I don't think that's going to be him in the long run. I think they do need to impress upon him that, and we've talked about it 100 times, come off the bag and things like that. But that if there's a downside to him, that's the downside, is that defensively sometimes he just goes into a black hole. So, the good is very good, and the bad sometimes can hurt you. So that's what I see.
Yeah, Casas, both home runs he hit yesterday were combined 845 feet according to StatCast.
God damn.
That's just blasting him. And it's going off of Scherzer, too.
Right.
So, in his last 183 at-bats of the season, in his first 183 at-bats, Casas hit a 197 with 7 home runs. In his last 88 at-bats, he's hitting 341 with 7 home runs and 16 RBIs. So you're cutting 100 less at-bats, and he has the same amount of home runs, and his batting average is 150 points higher. So he's took his time. I'm glad we did the patient thing, and because he's a rookie, he's how old is he? 23. Yeah, 23 years old. So you sit there and you got to be patient with the guy because you can't mess with his mind and keep setting him down and up, down and up. DC, George and I were talking about that possibly could be one of the biggest things with Dahlbeck. They sit there and they kept calling him up, calling him down, throwing him up, throwing him down. Casas, they were patient with him, and he's able to find his his way through to the light of the tunnel. So, DC, well, what are your thoughts on the good and the bad Casas?
Yeah, I mean, I think George nailed it right on the head. There's trouble on defense every now and then. Mental lapse on the bases. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is giving outs away, especially when you're already on base, man. But yeah, I mean, the good though, he's starting to hit, as you just said, the last 88 games hitting 340 something. And even when he's not getting hits, he's getting on base by walks. And now, like George said, he's starting to, take the pitches he should, but not letting, the strikes go down the middle. You know what I mean? So he's getting hits when he should, but he's also laying off of them. He has like a 346 on base percentage, which is pretty decent. 816, or I might be dyslexic right now, or maybe an 861 OPS. Mm-hmm. So the stats are there. I don't know if it was Alex Cora, but I saw something not too long ago on Twitter, or maybe I was on Bleacher Report when I was looking at their page. Somebody said that his upward swing reminds him of Dustin Pedroia's. And that's something I've actually always. Was that Alex Cora?
Yep, AC said that.
Yeah, and that's honestly one of the first things I realized about him. Watching him more closely this year, is his upward swing, and if he just irons out some kinks, cuts down some of those strikeouts, I think he's going to be a force, man. And honestly, if I could see him making a run, to be in. I mean, this might be a bold prediction, but the way he's been playing, he could be giving Yoshida a run for his money for that the AL Rookie of the Year. How he ends the summer.
Yeah, when we first started this off, DC, I made the prediction that the AL Rookie of the Year was coming from Boston overall. Whether it be in Yoshida or Casas, it was coming from Boston. I remember Josh being on. And he was like, it could come from Baltimore, but the way these two are playing, I can't see it anywhere else going. Who's the other guy from Texas that is in the running?
Oh, I'm drawing a blank.
The outfielder.
But yeah,
Garcia. No.
Let me see if I can figure that out. Young or no? Oh, you have Young. Third base.
Yeah.
Josh Young.
Texas Rangers. Josh Young.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say though, Gunnar Henderson is having after a really bad start. He's been killing it the last 2 months. So it could be a pretty race. With the two from where we're coming from, Boston, Josh Young, Gunnar Henderson. You never know. It's gonna be exciting to watch. It's good for baseball too.
Yeah. Let's switch things over a little bit. Trevor Story and Corey Kluber both in Portland. Story now got moved up to the Woo Sox. So, but what were your guys' thoughts? We'll start with you, DC, on Story and Kluber being in Portland.
Yeah, I'll start with Kluber. He had that one appearance so far. I think it was 2 innings. He allowed a hit and a strikeout. That's solid, man. I don't have too much optimism to think that he's going to really put anything into the rest of the season. I don't trust him. I mean, I hope he gets the mechanics figured out. Stop throwing those meatballs. But obviously, it's great to see him come back. His first rehab start. As far as Story, like I said, I'm excited about that first home run in the first game. Could do without the 4 strikeout game the next day, but like I said, you haven't played baseball since end of September. Beginning of October, coming off a pretty serious injury and surgery. He's not gonna come out with any rust, or without any rust. So overall, very happy with the first couple rehab games. Really, really excited to get Story back in the lineup. He's been one of my favorite players in the league, since he was with Colorado. Just want to see him succeed because I know he wants to, and I don't want to see him getting the hate, from Red Sox Twitter, like a lot of other players have in the past. But yeah, man, super excited that they've been doing well so far.
Wasn't the bigger thing coming from not the 0 for 4, but didn't he play all 9 innings at shortstop?
No, 5.
5?
Yeah, 5.
Okay.
5.
Okay.
But hey, that's good to see though.
Yeah, and his defense was good. So let's
Still
see if
makes
he
me
can
nervous. So
get. He's got a full. He's got a complete full 20 days they're expecting, for his stint and rehab. So take advantage of it. Test his arm out. And see where we're going. George, what were your thoughts on the old rehab assignments?
Well, I wasn't surprised that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, and then we're going to also touch on Reyes.
Sure. I wasn't surprised, and we touched on this a little bit the last time, is that I was not surprised that they sent Story to Portland. Okay. I think they're going to try to keep a very short leash on Story, and that's why I believe the Sea Dogs are out of town next week. So with Worcester back in town, they're going to keep him at arm's length so they can keep an eye on him. Now, the other night in Portland, a lot of the front office staff was there, okay, and including Heim for a couple of games. So they're taking a hard look at what's down in the AA system. So they're going to be very careful with him, okay. So that's why they want to keep him, in New England, so that if something happens, they can monitor it or say, or after the game, how you feeling? What are the trainers telling you? The whole 9 yards. As far as Kluber goes, I'm with DC. I mean, I hope he finds his stuff again. But DC said it best. I don't trust him. I mean that's gone out the window. Maybe they can. I hope that if they can find a trading partner for him, he goes someplace and kind of re-resurrects his career a little bit, because it would, I'd hate to see him go out, if he has to hang him up after this. I hate to see him be remembered for this season, because, he was a class act, and, a good pitcher for a while. So, I wish him the best, but you're right. I wouldn't trust him right now. There's too much on the line.
Switch it up real quick. You said class act, and you don't want him to be remembered for his time here. George, DC, what are your thoughts on the last 12 games Ryan Brazier has pitched for the Dodgers?
I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't. I kind of forgot he existed, to be honest with you. Which is crazy, because I play Dynasty Fantasy Baseball, so I should be paying attention, especially how deep my rosters are. But yeah, I haven't. He was out of sight, out of mind, I guess, with me. I
want to sit there and say he's pitched 12 games and he has like a 1.89 ERA or something like that.
Right.
Like,
I saw those stats on Twitter this morning, and I was like, well, that's the Brazier we knew back when he first came up. Basically lights out. Quality arm coming out of the bullpen. The pitchers, ball players are, interesting characters. Sometimes a change of scenery does them a world of good. There's a lot of pressure in Boston. That isn't the case in LA. And the old story about the Angels and the Dodgers, come in the second, leave in the sixth. There's no. But baseball's a religion in Boston. It's an afterthought out west. So I'm happy for him. A lot of people were really dumping on him. I know when they DFA'd him, I was like, I hope he finds himself. I hope he does well. And if that's what he's done, good for him. He's been, he took it on the chin from the press and the fans, and never once flinched. Didn't go off, didn't sulk or whatever. He's a pro, and I'm happy for him. If this continues for him, even better. So,
a little bit quick. Let's touch on Reyes. He's back. He's back after Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, who are we DFAing? Because within the next 2 weeks at the trade deadline, we're going to be needing some roster moves, Major League. So, DC, who do you think we're going to be DFAing?
I think eventually we're going to have to DFA somebody, obviously, with, we got Reyes and then Story coming back in a couple of weeks. But I think for now to bypass, having him taken off the roster if he's not activated, as far as Reyes, I think Arroyo is going to end up going on the IL with his jammed thumb. I think it's going to be a situation where, it's a numbers game. You gotta make some room for him. Obviously, he's banged up right now. Throw him on the shelf for 15 days, or 10 days, whatever one they decide. And then, when Story gets back, kind of go from there. But I think obviously Kike ends up getting DFA'd or traded in the next, week or so. And then you cross that bridge when you get there as far as Arroyo and then Story. But I think Arroyo goes to the IL, and then Reyes is on the squad Tuesday.
George, same thoughts for you?
I agree. If Arroyo was healthy, I think Kike's the first one on a bus out of here. Despite the fact that AC loves him to death, but the act is old. Maybe the Dodgers take him back. Some other team will want him as a spare part, or they need somebody who can play center field in a hurry. But yeah, I think he's definitely on the list. If Arroyo hits the IL, great. I wouldn't be surprised if Yu Chang was the second guy to go. As much as his defense is great, he can, he'll put the ball over the fence every now and then. I mean, you look at it, his batting average is woeful. If he doesn't make contact, I hate to use the word guaranteed out, but there isn't much else there. So I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys on that one. I think they're going to use the IL first, try to work some behind the scenes to see what the Dodgers will be willing to give for Kike, and go from there. Especially Story's coming back in less than 2 weeks now, so you got to sit there and make room for him too. So it's going to be interesting to see this trade deadline overall. But guys, we're going to bring back a segment. We're going to play a little fair or foul. Okay? So our first one will be, we will see Ceddanne Rafaela get called up in September. Let's start with George.
Fair, absolutely. If nothing else, if they're still in it, his defense in center field is a great backup, and his speed is lightning. So now that you got two guys on the roster, and if Duran and him, that's a really good problem to have.
Yeah, DC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fair. Agree with George. That speed's electrifying. It's a table setting, type of skill to have. Have that in the lineup with Duran. Can play the outfield. I think he plays shortstop as well, right?
Yeah, he played shortstop yesterday. He was there.
I'm not saying have him,
No.
Not having put a major time, but depending on his injuries or anything like that, anything can happen in the next month or so. But obviously, I want out in the outfield, especially with that speed and range that he has. But yeah, I'm going to go fair on that.
I will sit there, and as much as I tweeted it out, I'm going to defer. I'm going to go foul. I'm going to say until he gets his bat under control and doesn't strike out as much, because he has a really high strikeout rate. So I don't see him coming up in September. But it all depends really on the roster moves, the trade deadline, and what we have left. By the time September, do they bring Bobby Dahlbeck back up? In September, to give him another month to if he's even still on the team. He's been playing right field. I've seen him play right field this past week. First base, I've seen him play third base. So they're trying to sit there and get him a little versatility to see where he's at, for the trade deadline, and maybe just to bring him up in September. So I will say foul on that one until he gets a little more plate discipline. So, DC, we're going to start with you on this one. Fair or foul? We're going to see Corey Kluber start another game this season for the Red Sox.
Well, I'm going to go foul right off the bat. The only way I would see that happening is if, starters get decimated by injuries. I hope it's foul, and I think it's foul. I don't think we see him start another game. I could see him come out of, middle relief, long relief, something like that. But I don't see him starting another game unless, unforeseen circumstances happen.
George?
Absolutely foul. There's no way he starts another game. Okay, and as much as they might want to have him in the bullpen for long relief, even that, it would be just a couple of innings to showcase before the deadline. Because as I said, I don't think the organization trusts him, and they just want to show he's healthy again. So yeah, absolutely foul.
Desperate times.
He wants to go against us, George, man. He just loves it.
He's not listening. He's not listening, DC.
Call desperate measures. Right now, we have 2 spot starters, 2 openers, 2 bullpen games back to back. And I don't see AC making Pivetta the start again. So we got Houck's not ready yet. Whitlock's not ready yet. Sale's not ready yet. Kluber's the first man up. So I will say until Houck, Whitlock, or Sale come back, we're going to see Corey Kluber throwing some meatballs one more time as a starting pitcher this season.
I can see him coming back as the first guy out of the pen in an opener situation, much the way that they're using Pivetta right now. Okay, but to hand him the ball to throw the first pitch, I don't see it happen. Yeah, it does. It scares the heck out of me, man.
Hey, all he has to do is start the game, and I'm correct. He can only go 2 innings. He could be the
lay the money down, brother.
He could be the next opener.
Verdugo is going to be the leadoff hitter opening day, and I thought you were goddamn crazy. So crazier things have happened.
So
I hope you're wrong. I love you, but I hope you're wrong.
Hey, we can let Kluber give him a 4-run start, and then let Pivetta come in. But I like that Bernardino Pivetta combination. Like, I really, really like that. And it seems, I love how Pivetta he doesn't care. He just sticks it, whatever AC needs him, he's there for him now. And I like that mentality. I kind of hope that he's here at the end of the season, that we don't trade him, but we're going to sit there and see.
Well, you just talked about that combination of Bernardino and Pivetta. Murphy's in the bullpen. He's going to be coming in next, which I would like to see Pivetta, but like I said, I wasn't sure with the 1-inning pitch last night if he was actually getting any work today. So see how Chris Murphy does for us.
He's been great. I'm sorry, Ritt. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'll say, DC, when you and I were there last time at Scranton, we seen the pitching coach working with Chris Murphy. So
yeah,
he's been doing great since then. So next up, fair or foul? The Red Sox will make a big splash at the deadline. We're going to go with you, DC.
I want to say fair. I don't think it's going to be like a crazy blockbuster, and honestly, I don't want them to make a blockbuster. I want them to stay away from the Ohtani sweepstakes. I don't want to give up Meyer, Rafaela, York. I don't want to give up any of them for 3 months because you don't know where he's going to sign unless there is a guarantee. And it was, I don't even know. Obviously, I want Shohei Ohtani, but mortgage your future. But I think you go out and get a guy like Jordan Montgomery from St. Louis. or it would cost you a pretty decent bit. Go get Giolito. But I think he's a free agent at the end of the year too, so that would be just a rental.
Giolito, I heard, and Josh, I texted him. The Orioles are in on him. Like that would raise their starting pitching staff exponentially.
Yeah, and that would be nuts. I hope that doesn't happen. But I'm gonna go fair. I think they make a splash. They're only 3 games. Going in tonight, we're 3 games behind the wild card, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's close. I mean, you're so close. Make the move. I don't want another debacle like we did last year. Just go out and have a set need, a set plan, and just follow through. But I think they'll learn from their mistakes last year. They got a lot of flack from the fan base. Not sure how much they really listen to the fan base, but I'm going to say fair on that one.
George, you're up.
I think fair as well. The only thing that would derail that is if the last few games, suddenly they went in the tank and went on a 6 or 7 game losing streak, then all bets are off. But I think they do. I think that the 3 pitches that they will probably go after, 2 of them sit in Chicago right now, in Giolito and Cease. Jordan Montgomery could be that guy. I'm not sure. The Cardinals are a mess, so they may not. Who knows what their asking price is going to be? But if any one of the 3 of them ended up here, I would not be surprised. Cease costs you the most. Okay,
definitely.
Because of his control. The level of control you have in his contract. But yeah, I mean. Those 3 guys, they could be a dark horse too. I mean, Hines been known to, pine for certain types of players. So, he may have a guy sitting out there somewhere we're not unaware of that. He just says, "Oh, I love this guy. Let's get him." But yeah, absolutely, they have to. They need starters, okay, and they can't rely on the fact that how Whitlock and Sale are going to come back and be totally healthy. If they are great, then it's a great problem to have. But they've got to have another bullet to fire, and 2 bullpen games just isn't going to cut it. So,
yeah,
I wouldn't mind they went and get Stroman.
But are they going to give him up? That's the thing,
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't want to pay for him, but
yeah, but he knows how to pitch. He knows how to pitch in the AL East. So, I mean, that's a plus,
Yeah. Dylan Cease, his name's been shooting over in Texas. The Rangers are in talks and want him. So, you sit there and you said dark horse, George. I heard the Padres, and we're going to be talking about this next Sunday when we have our trade deadline. The Padres might be trying to get rid of Blake Snell. So that could be, yeah. Oh
yeah.
Don't sit there and get me.
Hader.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
I'd be so excited. He'd be in the top tier with Chris Martin, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, could you imagine a team coming in and not knowing what you're going to face? 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
With Hader, Martin, and Jansen.
That would be, talk about nice problems to have. That would be outstanding.
Yeah. So guys, that was fair or foul. I will sit there and join you guys with fair on that, just because High Bloom is going to make a splash. It's not going to be a tsunami. It's not going to be like Fenway Park Game 1 of the Mets series. But he will sit there and shop. And it might not be a popular, choice. Look at last year. He traded Vasquez away, but he got us 2 quality farm system guys with Valdez and Abreu.
I'm in the back burner, and I've said this a couple of times. I still say somewhere in the back corners of an office someplace there's an outside chance Juan Soto ends up here, because
That'd be awesome.
San Diego can't pay him. And talk about a change of scenery. He would. Oh my goodness, can you see him at Fenway? But just I can't get that one out of my head. That I was just like, you know what? There's ways to get that done that are not horribly expensive. So.
Unfortunately, I think Juan Soto will be going to the AL East, but he's going to be going to the Yankees.
I don't want to talk about
it. And speaking of the Yankees, really quick before we wrap up the show, I didn't know the stats that Stanton has better fielding percentage than Aaron Judge.
I didn't know that.
Like, I did not know that because I didn't know Stanton was healthy enough to even get a percentage. But
he's knocked some homers in the last 2 weeks, though.
Yeah.
He's been on fire. I mean, obviously, you see him rounding third base. So was it today or yesterday?
Yeah.
Man, so slow, but I mean, you got to worry about not hurting yourself with every stride.
So,
right.
But guys, it's time to wrap this up. And George, any preview of your next article?
I may touch on some interesting minor league moves that might happen that would indicate that something big is coming down. Certain players, I think that if you see them move or you see them do certain things, could tell you that something big is in the offering. So I got a couple of ideas. I'm working on that. But that would be the only big thing. I'm going to be glued to any kind of transaction that happens this week. Somebody has to fire the first shot, in the deadline sweepstakes. So we're coming down. Tuesday's a week. Going to be a week out. So there's everybody's going to be watching. Who's the first one that says, hey, I'm going to go big or go home?
Exactly. DC, any final thoughts you want to throw out there?
Well, first, apologize to you and George and the listeners for my trash internet. It just seems to not want to work whenever I try to do one of these. But I'll get that worked out. But no, man, excited for the next week. Really just looking forward to the Red Sox putting a good run together, to solidify their buyer stance. I don't want to have a boring second half of the season, their last 62 games. So I'm hoping they play well, just stay where they're at, or obviously get closer to the wild card and make a move, man. Make a couple moves, make the team better, improve the defense, fill a pitching spot, maybe get a middle reliever of some sort, or go out and get it like a hater, But yeah, just really excited what's going to happen, and it's good to see you guys.
Yeah. So, guys, check us out over there on YouTube. Follow us, sub, watch all of our live shows in video form. Go to Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you can sit there and get or listen to your podcast. So, but as for myself, as for DC, as for George, see you guys next time on the Pesky Podcast.